What's up, y'all? The NBA season is back, and while teams continue to find their footing, our partners at FANATICS Sportsbook are already running championship plays. Bet with Fanatics and earn up to 10% fan cash on your bets, win or lose. So even if your bet misses, you're still scoring fan cash, which you can use on NBA gear, tickets, and exclusive Fanatics events. And with fair play, if your players go down injured in the first half, your bet stays live. Make the switch and get more ways to win with FANATICS Sportsbook. Winning hits different here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, welcome to KFS Weekly Wagers. I am Shawn for W. That is Mensa Smith, and we are here to talk about the New York Knicks from a betting perspective. Mensa, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. Happy Dante Moore Day to all of those who celebrate. We are not too sure if he's coming out in the draft. That's a little NFL stuff. And happy Kyle Tucker week to those who celebrate that. But we're here to talk about the New York Knicks, and they have a good game tonight. And I'm sure we're going to get into how they're performing on the season.
Absolutely. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. Let's look at how the Knicks have been performing this season and this week. So we like to do the week that was in Knicks basketball from a betting perspective. So let's do this. Bang! All right. Whole lot of mid last week. Money line against the spread over under 2 wins, 2 losses. 2-2 last week. Those games, I have those here because why? Let's relive those games again. On Monday, they got their cheeks clapped 121-90 by the Detroit Pistons in a game that everyone knew the Pistons were going to come out and play except for the New York Knicks. Then they came back home to Madison Square Garden for their 123-111 win over the Los Angeles Clippers before heading back on a plane, going to the West Coast and losing to the Phoenix Suns 112-107 in one of those annoying-ass Dillon Brooks games. And then headed up to Portland on Sunday afternoon in the West Coast, and they won 123-114. So 2-2 against the spread, 2-2 straight up, 2-2 over under. They're now 6th in the NBA. They have the 6th best record in the NBA. They're now 12th in the league against the spread, 21-19 overall. And 23 out of their 40 games played have gone over. And again, we include all Knicks games that are played this season, including ones in Vegas on neutral courts that Adam Silver decided to punt into the ether. So next up, let us dive into how your boys from the KFS Betting and Sweating crew have performed. Now, good news. I had a good week last week. I got up to 66 points. Unfortunately, Andrew had a better week, so he has actually, I believe he has widened his lead. So he has a 17-point lead on your boy, followed by Jonathan with 62 points, Jeff with 61 points, and Mensa, motherfucker, you smell like French fries.
Look, man, I don't know. I feel like I've been having the unfortunate reality of betting on games. Like I had the Detroit game. Like I had it. I played it. Like I really thought that I had some really good props there. And then the Knicks decided not to show up. So betting is so for the betting and sweating scoreboard, I'm catching up because I was at 9 points. So, hey, I'm starting to pick it up, but I'm a lot more proud of my record on best bets is what I'll say.
And that's a good segue because guess what? Motherfucker, I smell like French fries.
Hey.
Oh, wait a minute. This whole thing is not fitting. This whole thing isn't fitting in here. God. I don't know. Okay, I have no idea why it's in this crazy order. I should have checked this beforehand, but I said to say, Mensa, you're in the lead. You have basically gotten 2/3 of your best bets right this season. I ain't bring up the rear with a 9-13 record. But again, if you bet with all of us, you took every single bet, and shout out to Mensa, because Mensa tells every single bet you would be making money. And a reminder, we do not give out any bets worse than minus 130, and we're not giving out minus 130 all the time. You'll see that there is a new category here, which is voids. And these are bets that were voided due to Fanatics Fair Play. By the way, this has been brought to you by Fanatics Sportsbook. So again, we are the only Fanatics Sportsbook is the only, I believe they're the only book still doing this. There was another book that started doing this. I'm not gonna say their name, and then they conveniently stopped. So remember, Fanatics is the home of fair play. If your player gets hurt in the first half, all bets are void. Most notably, in Sunday's Eagles-Niners game, George Kittle, prayers up for him, tore his Achilles, but all bets from him were voided. So that's just another reason to stick with your boys from Fanatics Sportsbook. All right, let us get into how we doing for this game tonight. The Knicks traveled to Sacramento to take on the Kings. This is as of last night when I put this together. The Knicks were an 11.5-point favorite. I'm just going to double check to see if that number has changed. I bet you it probably hasn't. And as I open the Fanatics Sportsbook app, okay, now it's down to 11. Whoop-de-damn-do. Okay. So it's an 11-point. They're 11-point favorites. The money line is now minus 500, but we're not betting the money line. And the over has actually dropped from 232 to 230. So that's something to keep in mind for the Knicks matchup against the Kings. Now let's read some. Let me get this out of here. Now let me just read some quick stats for those who are listening, because I did not know this. Shout out to Andrew Claudio that he turns this around very quickly for people to listen to the podcast on the podcast feed. So basically, if you're on your way home, you want to make some bets, you need some research, here you go. So shout out to all the podcast listeners. Knicks on the road this season, 8-10, 5-13 against the spread, a 9-9 over versus under. This is no surprise to us, Mensa. This team has just not been a good road team at all. Deep dive against the spread. As a favorite, 19-16. As an away favorite, though, 4-10. 14-11 after a win. That win coming at Portland, as I mentioned earlier, with a rest advantage because the Knicks have had 2 days off, and this is their first 2 days. This is the first time they've had 2 days off since the NBA Cup final. Between the semifinal and the final, they had 2 days off, and they're 7-4 versus the vaunted the Western Conference of the NBA. Meanwhile, the Kings at home, not a shocker, 7-13, 8-12 against the spread, 8-12 to the over. So only eight of their 20 home games have gone over. Deep dive against the spread. Again, this team isn't very good, so these numbers aren't going to be very good. 14-23 as an underdog, 7-10 as a home dog, 4-5 after a win because they beat the Los Angeles Lakers at home, 124-113. 4-10 of a rest disadvantage. They only have 1 day of rest, whereas the Knicks, like I said earlier, have 2. And 3-5 versus the Eastern Conference. So those are the betting trends. Mensa, as always, I will start with you. What is the trend that you have your eye on for tonight's game?
So we're playing against the Sacramento Kings tonight, and the Sacramento Kings are not good at basketball this year. So there are a lot of different ways we can go here, but where I'm going to go, because of when you look at the Knicks' strengths and the Sacramento Kings' weaknesses, Sacramento is a bottom 12 team in terms of allowing steals and allowing blocks. I believe they're 18th in steals and 19th in blocks, which means I'm going to go with DPOGY, defensive player OG Anunoby. We're going to go with him as far as Knicks stocks, but Knicks stocks in general. I like Mikal Bridges there. I like OG Anunoby there. I love OG Anunoby tonight, actually. And Josh Hart as well, who can get involved. If you wanted to look at betting maybe one Jalen Brunson steal, you probably get some good odds there, or Karl Anthony Towns block. Karl Anthony Towns 2 stocks might be a really juicy bet tonight, but I'm looking definitely for the Knicks to get in the box score on the defensive side of the ball.
as I said earlier, the Sacramento Kings aren't very good at much. In fact, I had cleaning glass up here and I closed it, but they're not a good team. They're on all, both sides of the ball, offensive, defensively. If they're a special team, they not be good at it too. This is absolutely a good bet. For me, my trend, and we spoke about this before the show, we actually had the same trend that we're initially looking for, is rebounding. The Sacramento Kings are 29th in the NBA in defensive rebounds. They're bottom third in the league in offensive rebounds. This should be a Karl-Anthony Towns, Mitchell Robinson, Josh Hart masterclass in rebounding. I am leaning because Mensa and I and Andrew are putting together tonight's best bets for the game. I've already chose Mitchell Robinson over 9.5 rebounds, which last I looked is still plus money, which is I find very interesting. I had this right here. Let's see. Mitchell Robinson. Where is Mitchell Robinson? Yeah, plus 115 right now. Bet this right now. If you want to bet Cat, you can get Cat. Because what I try to do is if there's an event, if there I think is a lot of value to be had, instead of betting the over-under number they give me, I see if I can get that number at plus money, how feasible it is. So, for example, Mitch over 8.5 rebounds is minus 140. Over 9.5 rebounds is plus 115. I would just, for the extra rebound, which I know he can get, why wouldn't I just take plus 115? It's funny, it actually just went to plus 120. Karl-Anthony Towns, 12 plus rebounds is even money. Like, even Josh Hart owes me 3 rebounds because I tailed Jeff's parlay for the last game, and I was like, oh, Josh Hart will get 5 rebounds, and he got 2. So, yeah, I think basically what me and Mensa are telling you here is this. Oh, and one more thing. Shout out to Jonathan Macri because I got this stat from the mailbag he released on the Patreon feed. And if you're not a Patreon, you should be. The Knicks, since they lost to the Bulls in their first game of the season, the Knicks have not lost to a bottom 12 defense since. The Sacramento Kings are a bottom 12 defense. They have not lost to one of these teams since Halloween. And MLK Day is next week. So obviously, you're not going to do not bet minus 500 on anything, anytime, ever, unless you're Floyd Mayweather or Drake. But if you want to parlay Knicks money line with something, go right ahead because this team ain't losing. And I think Mensa agrees.
Yeah, 100%. Come on, it's the Kings, guys. They don't have their best player in Domantas Sabonis. You might have love for Zach LaVine and you might have love for Russell Westbrook, but I am here to tell you that it's not 2019, it's 2026, and that's not going to get you anything right now. So definitely, I do not expect the Knicks to lose tonight, and I do expect them to cover that spread.
Absolutely. So again, go bet these now. Mensa says, look at stocks, especially with DPOG, OG Anunoby, DPOG Emeritus, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm looking at rebounding. And again, listen, parlay Knicks. In fact, I'll tell you this. For you football degenerates, you can parlay Knicks money line with a football game this weekend. You can parlay Knicks money line with the national championship game, which I may have to do because I have a bet I bet Miami to beat Indiana for the national title at like plus 650. And then I saw what Indiana did to Oregon. I'm like, I might have to hedge this motherfucker because good Lord.
Kirk Cignetti, man, he's coaching those boys up. They got the Heisman winner and Mendoza. Look, Carson Beck, and here's what I'll say about that game. I don't want to make this a football I don't want to make this a football podcast too much, but the Miami Hurricanes have the two best edge rushers left in college football right now, and they probably have the two best tackles as well. The game is won and dominated in the trenches, so if Miami is going to win that game, you're going to need a lot from Messidor, I believe, and Ruben Bain Jr., and then on the other side, they have Maui Goa and the other kid who's like 6'8", 400 pounds on the offensive line. So, look, Malachi Tony is going to play well. Fletcher Jr. probably played really well. I like the talent on the Miami side of the ball, but Kurt Cignetti, the way he has those guys in Indiana playing and the way the state of Indiana is rallying behind them, and I have no love for the state of Indiana. I am a Knicks fan, but I think it's going to be a really good game. But I think that at the odds you got, definitely Miami is a really good bet there.
So we'll see. We'll see. All right, let us jump into the team future segment. Mensa, I'm going to play a game. Let's play a game. All right. Where do you think the Knicks rank in championship odds as this week? To help you out, last week they were third at plus 1,100. Where do you think they are now?
So I actually know this because I looked it up a few nights ago. Oh, as of a few nights ago, they were plus 1,300. Ranking, I would say they are probably behind Oklahoma City, Houston. I don't know why behind Houston, but people love Houston. Detroit, because they lost to Detroit. And for good measure, let's say San Antonio. They're probably fifth in terms of odds right now.
So guess what? O ye of little faith. The Knicks are still third in NBA championship odds.
All right.
Now it went down. It dropped a little bit it was plus 1,100 last week, plus 1,200. OKC, which is still in first, they dropped from even money to plus 115. Denver's actually improved from plus 850 to plus 750 without Nikola Jokic. My only guess is that maybe some people tried to buy because maybe they got some value or what have you, or maybe because they believe Peyton Watson is the second coming. And then again, San Antonio's not moved at plus 1,200. Houston actually went from plus 1,400 to plus 1,300. But yes, the Knicks are still the third favorites to win the championship. To win the East, they're still favored at plus 280. Detroit at plus 375. So Detroit went from plus 450 to plus 375. The Knicks went from 250 to 280. I mean, when you see the Knicks get clapped by 31 points in a game, like there's gonna be it's gonna happen. And then Boston. So ironically, Cleveland was third. Now Cleveland has dropped. Boston has jumped Cleveland because the Boston media mafia machine, and Orlando stays at plus 8. Is at still in fifth at plus 800 now, dropping from plus 750. Now to win the Atlantic Division, the Knicks are still favored. The fact that the Knicks are still favored and they've already spent 48 hours not being in first place in the Atlantic Division should tell you something. People, the Knicks are winning the Atlantic Division. The Knicks are going through the dog days of January, especially in a situation where the Knicks have played. The Knicks have been even though they've had a home game, the Knicks have traveled. The Knicks are on a stretch of 7 games where they will be traveling after every game. So, for example, I'm going to pull this up right here. The Knicks. Actually, where is it? Hold on. Where did I put this? Where did I put it? Oh, here we go. So, the Knicks played the Sixers at home on the 3rd of January. They got on a plane the next day. They went to Detroit. They got killed. They got on a plane to come back home to play the Clippers. Then they got on a plane to go play the Suns. They got on the plane to go play the Kings. And tomorrow I think they're driving or taking a bus to play Golden State. And then they're getting on a plane to return back to Madison Square Garden to play Phoenix again. So I say that to say this. I'm very wary about, I've always told people about the 5th game of a 5-game road trip is a schedule loss. Now you're saying this isn't a 5-game road trip because they have the Clipper game in there, but the reason why 5-game road trips suck is because you're going from city to city to city to city to city. And the Knicks will go from Philadelphia to Detroit to New York to Phoenix to Portland to Sacramento. Now, I would be very wary of this game, except it's the Kings, and what the Kings are not bad at, the Knicks are very, very good at doing. I will say this. They play at Golden State Thursday night. Be careful. Mensa, your thoughts?
Definitely be careful of that Warriors game against, especially because with just the characters involved in that game, you have Steph Curry, and then you have Mr. Draymond Green, who thinks that John Morant should get traded to the Knicks. Yeah, definitely don't. Just because they slept in their bed one night does not mean that they're not in the middle of a road trip. They just stopped at home. But yeah, they're definitely a team that is good enough to not fall victim to the Sacramento Kings, who are playing on a shorter rest advantage than the New York Knicks. But just to bring up a few more talking points, the New York Knicks, since the NBA Cup, have been playing on either one night's this is the only exception. Before this game, they were playing on either one night's rest or in back-to-backs every single game for 15 games in a row. That's kind of crazy. And I don't know how precedented that is in the NBA, but that's why you saw a team that looked a bit tired, and that's not necessarily an excuse. This is really about like what you're doing as far as where you're putting your money. If you're going to bet on a team, right? You have to take all these things into account. As far as if we step back and we look at the Eastern Conference odds and the Atlantic Division odds, the Knicks are going to win the Atlantic Division. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Boston's frisky. Boston's cool. They're not going to be better than the Knicks in terms of their record. Eastern Conference odds, I honestly would be able to justify taking 3 out of 5 of these teams. New York, because they should be the favorite, and those are great odds for a favorite. Boston, because Tatum might come back and they might get a little frisky there. And Cleveland, because they are also a team that has multiple shot creators. Do not put any money on Detroit to win the Eastern Conference. And I'll say that really strongly because when you look at a team that has only one shot creator, unless you think Jaden Ivey is somehow going to be a super 6-man, and if you do, I have a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. Look, think about the 2009-2010 Cleveland Cavaliers, who had prime LeBron in arguably one of the worst Eastern Conferences to have ever been in terms of the history of basketball. They had one shot creator in LeBron James. LeBron James could not get his team to an NBA Finals. So you're going to look at this Detroit Pistons team that has Cade Cunningham, great basketball player, will probably be either first or second team All-NBA this year. He is not LeBron James in his prime. I'm very sorry to break it to anybody in the greater Michigan area. He's not. Putting your money on the Detroit Pistons to win the Eastern Conference is lighting it on fire. And you can clip this. You can do whatever you want with it. If Detroit wins 2 playoff series this year, I will be shocked. They are damn sure not winning 3 because you only have one shot creator. And this is obviously happening. I'm saying this before the trade deadline. Maybe they do something at the trade deadline that changes their odds up a little bit. But as of right now, the way that roster is currently constructed, do not put your money on Detroit to win the Eastern Conference. It is fool's gold. I don't care what that record is. They are a paper tiger when it comes to the playoffs. I've seen this time and time again where a team has one shot creator and you have to win 4 out of 7 games. Teams are just going to load up and ask Sarah Thompson to beat them. They're going to ask the dancehall artist to beat them and Isaiah Stewart. They're going to ask, they're going to ask Jalen Duren. They don't have enough juice, right? So as when we're talking about who you are going to believe in with your actual dollar, it should not be Detroit. You need at least 2 shot creators to win in this NBA. And I know the New York Knicks don't necessarily have a traditional second shot creator in a Karl Anthony Towns or a OG Anunoby or Mikal Bridges, but they have enough juice where if that guy needs to get 30 points, he can. And we've seen it. We've seen each of these guys get at least 30 points as far as Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns can take over games. And then you have Mitchell Robinson. So there's a lot more to believe in there. With Detroit, they're young. They're not battle-tested. They haven't won a playoff game at home since the Obama administration. Don't put your money there. That's all I'll say.
Listen, I'm with you. Now, to your point, if they make a trade, that's different. But again, I do not see this team winning 2 playoff series with one shot creator, like winning 8 out of 14 games. 7 of those games each against the same team. I just don't see it happening. Yes, one night when you're hosting the Wizards, who are coming in on a back-to-back in the third game of 4 nights, yes, you can get them out the paint. Playoffs are a different animal. As the aforementioned Draymond Green once said, there are 82 game players and there are 16 game players, and I don't know how many 16 game players are on that team. That offensively, I should say. All right, and really quickly, Knicks regular season wins over 49.5 is back. It's minus 1,000. Fanatics is trying to get some bread out of you. So they took away over 64.5 after this little slump, which is understandable. But again, if you think they can win 60 games, I would not bet plus 1,000. I would bet these player futures. Now, let's see. I'm gonna full screen my screen. So okay, all right. So it looks better. Okay. So Jalen Brunson is now. So I hope you listened to me. I told you, Mensa told you, Jalen Brunson at 150-1 was utterly ridiculous. I hope you listened to me and took that bet.
Preposterous.
Now it is 40-1. He has passed Tyrese Maxey. Who could have saw that coming? The fact that he's behind Jaylen Brown, I don't have an issue with because Jaylen Brown has been balling. Cade, listen, we know the vibes. Cade is 6'6", so he's automatically better, whatever. Now, Luka, I don't understand this Luka stuff, but I guess Luka's is penciled in, whatever. But again, I hope you took Brunson at 150-1 because that was preposterous. Because guess what? If the Knicks are approaching 60 wins, that 40-1 is gonna be 5-1 real quick by March.
Yeah, definitely. I personally, before the season started, I think on KFS Study Hall, shout out to everybody who joins us on KFS Study Hall. One of my hot takes was Jalen Brunson was going to win MVP, and I still feel confident about that because what happens with voter fatigue with Shai Gilgeous, right? What happens when Cade Cunningham has a great season, but nobody actually believes in the Detroit Pistons, right? And then Luka Doncic is up there because, one, his name is Luka Doncic, and 2, he plays for the Los Angeles Lakers. So there's always going to be a lot of juice there. Jaylen Brown, forget about it, not happening. I do believe that. He plays well. He's not winning MVP. Not going to happen.
Yeah, only because the team he plays for.
You're right. I forgot. You might get that Jackie Mack article, and that might do it. Especially like if they're third. With no Drew Holiday, no Tatum for most of the season, and no Porzingis. You lost 3 out of 5 of your starters, and you were still able to stay afloat. I can see the narrative there. I can definitely see it, but I do expect the New York Knicks to eventually overcome the Detroit Pistons and get that 1 seed. And if that happens, if the Knicks are the 1 seed, Jalen Brunson's winning MVP. I just think the story is too strong. I think that not only did he come in with Tom Thibodeau was here 2 years before him, obviously, but he was a part of the change in narrative for the New York Knicks. And you can kind of see the way the team has steadily built itself up from being a 5 seed that played the Cleveland Cavaliers to being a scrappy 2 seed to being a legit 3 seed and now to be the 1 seed. The story has been being written for about 4 seasons now, and Mike Brown is going out of his way in press conferences to acknowledge him as the MVP of the New York Knicks, but pushing that narrative. And I think that even though we have a very, let's say, agnostic, let's say cynical group of beat reporters in New York, I do think that Jalen Brunson has done it long enough to have at least some clout with the New York Post and the Daily News and the Athletic and all these different all these different beat writers to at least push that narrative. Maybe Fred Katz gets in on it because I know Fred Katz likes to look up different things, and I know he was reporting. he tweeted that he was going to look up how Jalen Brunson gets so many 3-point shot fouls, which I do think is interesting, but we just need that narrative to push. And at 40-1 with the way the Knicks are playing, and I think that once they get through that dog day of the season, Jalen Brunson's going to play a lot of games. A lot of guys like Wemby, maybe even Luka Doncic might end up falling out of the race for injury reasons. So look, I still think this is a good bet. This was my bold prediction before the season, and I still feel good about it because going from 100-1 to 40-1, I expect that to continue to climb, and he's a good outside shot to win MVP. And that's not just me speaking as a Knicks fan. That is me just looking at the narrative because that's what's most important. It's not about who the best player is in the league. Jalen Brunson may not be a top 5 player in the NBA when all is said is done, but in terms of his importance to the team, his importance in a big market like New York City, I think that he's a really good bet.
I agree. Now, if you are not as bullish as Mensa is, but you still on MVP, but like Mensa, you think this team can be the 1 seed and get near the 60-win mark, well, then you can bet Mike Brown to be coach of the year. Right now, he's 40-1. Now, also to Mensa's point, because JB Bickerstaff is the favorite plus 160. If the Knicks pass the Pistons, get JB Bickerstaff out of here. So then you can look at Jordan Ott last week was Jordan Ott's the coach of the Suns, was plus 750. Now he's plus 350. Jordan Ott is very interesting. As Knicks fans, we can't be mad. We can't pound the table to justify why Tom Thibodeau should have won Coach of the Year in 2021 and then just completely dismiss Jordan Ott. The other interesting name here is Joe Mazzulla, who was 8-1 last week and now 4-1. Again, that Boston media mafia machine. Try saying that 3 times fast. I put nothing past them. I also wouldn't give up on Eric Spoelstra at 50-1 because if, to Nemensa's point about narratives, anyway the Heat look frisky down the stretch and get themselves into like top 6, top 5, the Lifetime Achievement Award for Coach of the Year is going to Eric Spoelstra. In fact, I may bet Eric Spoelstra for Coach of the Year for every year for the rest of his career because when he's getting one of these Lifetime Achievement Awards. And last but not least, 6th Man of the Year, the highest Nick is Deuce McBride at, I'm just going to double check to make sure that is the case. Yes, is Deuce McBride at 80-1. Now, I believe that the value of Deuce McBride, who I believe might be lead. I'm going to look up live where he is in 3-point shooting. We'll look this up live. 3-point shooting. All right. He is. Where is field goals? Where's field goal percentage? Oh, this is annoying. Okay, actually. He's putting up 3. He's making 3 threes a game. I thought there was percentages up here, but it wasn't. But I would take a good look. I would take a good look at if Deuce McBride can finish in the top 4, top 5 in 3. Oh, here's 3-point percentage. Deuce McBride is 11th in the NBA. He's shooting 43.9%. So basically 44% from the field. If he can find his way into the top 7 and maintain this good defense and the Knicks go on this run, that is a bet worth making. Absolutely.
100%. The only thing that would keep me from betting on Deuce at 80-1 here is if there was a Boston Celtic who was in the race, because they're going to say, oh, he started too many games. But when I look at the odds here in front of me, it tells me that the odds makers really don't know who was going to win the award because none of these names are let's say, oh, Anthony Simons is on that list, so we got to be careful. But it tells me that they don't know who, because like Naz Reid, none of these names really give me confidence as a guy who can win it, especially with the way the Minnesota Timberwolves have been disappointing. Keldon Johnson with the San Antonio Spurs is an interesting name, but like Reed Shepherd, Anthony Black, Colin Gillespie, Santi Aldama, like none of these names really tell me like, hey, this is a guy who's going to win an award here. So Deuce McBride, when we watch him play, and we can tell this is one of the most important players on the team. And the way he's just kind of improved year over year with the high volume in threes while also keeping his point of attack defense up. I think that around this time, 2-3 seasons ago, it was Emmanuel Quickley, and he was at 100-1 and he finished second. So Deuce McBride, so long as he keeps his season up, I think a lot of these names are going to drop off because it's an unserious list, if I'm being completely honest with you. I think that Deuce McBride will remain serious, and his candidacy should elevate him at least to 10-1 by the end of the season. So at 81, I like those odds a lot.
All right. That's our future segment. So that's our show for today. Shout out to the 340 people watching us across YouTube and Twitter. We really appreciate that. Mensa, any last words before we get out of here? Any last bit of advice for tonight's game or the upcoming road trip or what have you?
One prop that I like for tonight's game, I think they're giving out Josh Hart double-double at plus 300 right now, which against a poor rebounding team and just like a not good defensive team, a not good team at all, I expect the New York Knicks, if they are going to win in blowout fashion, Josh Hart will be involved in the full court game, getting the ball, pushing it down, getting in ones, doing his thing. It shouldn't be difficult for Josh Hart to get 10 rebounds tonight, and I'm sure he'll get into double-digit points. So that's a bet that I really like. Deuce McBride, for some reason, the odds haven't caught up to him hitting 3+. Like it should be like minus 200 for him to hit 3 threes. So that's a bet. If you want to build a nice little pretty parlay, 10 rebounds for Mitchell Robinson, 3 threes for Deuce McBride, and 8 rebounds for Josh Hart would be pretty fun. And you might get some decent odds there. But this is a night where, especially because I would probably be staying away from props against the Golden State Warriors tomorrow. Oh, great. And guess who has that game? It's just I think tonight is the night, if you're going to go prop heavy on the Knicks, with an opponent that they have and the way they match up with them, tonight would be a good night to go prop heavy for sure.
Absolutely. All right. So that is our show for today. If you like what you heard and you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to the Knicks Film School Podcast. We're available on all podcast platforms. If you're listening to us via Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave us a 5-star review. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 stars. If you are watching us on YouTube and you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so that way you can, well, first of all, like this video. If you haven't liked this video already, you luncheon. And make sure that you subscribe to the Knicks Film School YouTube channel so that way you can get alerts when we go live for shows like this one, the weekly recap of John and Jeremy, X's and O's with Benji and DJ, KFS After School with myself and Jeff J, and for any emergency live streams, like when the Knicks finally trade for Giannis, because Giannis last night was booing his own crowd, pulling the Julius Randle thumbs down. Wish he had more hands. Follow us across all social media platforms at Knick Film School. That's Knick Film SKOOL. That is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads. And if you want even more Knicks Film School content, you can join the KFS Patreon so you can access to bonus episodes and bonus content, or you can sign up for the KFS Substack newsletter written by the one and only Jonathan Macri, which will come to your inbox 5 days a week. So for Mensa Smith, I'm Shawn W. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Knicks Nation, let's ride. If you're out on your bike tonight, do wear white.
Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See the FANATICS Sportsbook app.